The night air in Atlanta split open with 3 sharp cracks, gunshots echoing across the parking lot of Platinum Sound Studios at 2:07 a.m. Inside, producers and engineers froze, eyes meeting in silent recognition of what they'd just heard. By the time they rushed outside, it was already too late. Blood pooled beneath the driver's door of a gleaming Mercedes G-Wagon, its pristine white leather interior now stained crimson. Slumped against the steering wheel was Tyrell Boog Washington, the 27-year-old rapper whose voice had dominated radio for the past year, whose bank account had just hit 7 figures, whose future had seemed limitless just moments before. "Call 911!" someone screamed, but the vacant stare in Boog's eyes told everyone what the paramedics would later confirm. The man who'd escaped the projects of East Columbus was gone, his life extinguished in seconds. As police cordoned off the scene, theories erupted immediately. Was it the public feud with rival Hollow Point? The relationship with drug kingpin Elijah Reynolds' ex-girlfriend? A business deal gone wrong? Or something deeper? The invisible boundaries that fame had led him to cross? If you want to understand how success can become a death sentence, hit subscribe on True Crime Hunter now. Our channel reveals the hidden dangers lurking behind fame that mainstream media won't tell you. Before the bullets, there was a boy with nothing but dreams. East Columbus, Ohio in the 1990s wasn't kind to children. The Bolivar Arms Housing Project, where Tyrell Washington grew up, stood as a monument to urban neglect, crumbling infrastructure, rampant crime, and dreams that died young. For Tyrell, home was apartment 4C, a 2-bedroom unit he shared with his grandmother Loretta and 3 cousins. That boy never had it easy, Loretta Washington told local reporters years later. His mama got caught up in that crack epidemic when he was 4. His daddy went to prison for armed robbery when he was 6. But I wasn't about to let the system take him. Loretta worked double shifts as a hospital custodian, leaving before dawn and returning after dark. Despite her absence, her presence loomed large in Tyrell's life. Her rules were absolute. Be home by streetlights, finish homework before television, and stay away from the corner boys who recruited children as lookouts. "She'd whoop me if I even looked at those dealers," Boog once said in an interview. "But she also bought me my first cassette player when I was 8. That thing changed my life." While other kids played basketball, Tyrell filled notebooks with lyrics. By 12, he was performing impromptu rap battles in the school cafeteria, his natural flow and clever wordplay earning him respect even from older students. "He could rhyme about anything," recalled Marcus Kelly, childhood friend and later his producer. "Give him a topic, and 30 seconds later he'd have 16 bars that made everyone go crazy." High school brought new challenges. Tyrell worked evenings at Fast Freddy's Chicken after classes, coming home smelling of grease, but with pockets full of tips he saved religiously. Weekends meant shifts at the local car wash. Every dollar not given to his grandmother went into a shoebox labeled studio time. "Most of us were just trying to survive," said Darnell Thompson, another childhood friend. But Ty was different. He wasn't just dreaming, he was planning, saving, preparing. At 19, with $600 saved, Tyrell booked his first professional studio session. The result was Streets Watching, a raw 10-track mixtape recorded in a basement studio over 2 weekends. He burned 100 CDs, designed the cover at the public library, and sold them hand-to-hand at barbershops, clubs, and on campus at the community college where he took night classes. The mixtape caught fire locally, with tracks like Corner Store Wisdom and Grandma's Hands showcasing his storytelling abilities and authentic voice. Local radio station WCKX gave him his first airplay, and Columbus venues began booking him as an opening act. Have you ever watched someone fight impossible odds to pursue their passion? That moment when everyone says they're crazy, but they keep pushing forward anyway? For Tyrell Boog Washington, music wasn't just an escape. It was the only path forward in a world designed to hold him back. March 2020 arrived with lockdowns across America. As millions found themselves confined to their homes, digital content consumption exploded. For Tyrell Washington, this unexpected shift created the perfect storm for his breakthrough. Diamond Life dropped on YouTube with minimal promotion, just a simple video shot in his neighborhood featuring Boog in a white t-shirt rapping on the hood of a borrowed BMW. The beat, produced by Marcus in their makeshift home studio, paired vintage soul samples with modern trap percussion. "We uploaded it at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday," Marcus recalled. "By Friday, it had 100,000 views. 2 weeks later, we hit 1 million. My phone wouldn't stop ringing with industry people trying to reach us." The song's hook, from cubic zirconia dreams to diamond life reality, became a pandemic anthem, a rallying cry for anyone with ambitions beyond their circumstances. TikTok users created over 500,000 videos using the track, each showcasing their own journey from struggle to success. Atlantic Records executives moved quickly, flying Boog to New York as soon as travel restrictions eased. The contract they offered, $3.2 million for 3 albums with merchandising rights, made headlines in the industry press. Boog brought his grandmother's former neighbor, a retired contract attorney, to review the paperwork. "Most artists sign whatever's put in front of them," said Leona Winters, who later became his financial advisor. Tyrell asked questions about every clause, negotiated better terms, and walked away with one of the most artist-friendly deals I've seen for a newcomer. His debut album, From Nothing to Something, released in November 2020, debuted at number 3 on the Billboard charts. The follow-up singles, CEO Flow and Grandma's Bentley, both reached the top 10. By early 2021, his net worth had surpassed $4.5 million. Unlike many overnight successes, Boog approached wealth with calculated precision. He purchased 3 apartment buildings in Columbus, established a scholarship fund at his former high school, and invested in a tech startup focused on financial literacy for underserved communities. "He called me about setting up trusts, tax strategies, and investment portfolios," Winters said. "This was a 25-year-old who grew up with nothing, yet he understood that real wealth comes from ownership and assets, not flashy purchases." His first major personal expenditure wasn't for himself. It was a 5-bedroom house in a gated community for his grandmother. The second was renovating the community center where he'd spent afternoons as a child, adding a recording studio for neighborhood youth. When asked about his success in a radio interview, Boog remained humble. "I'm just a product of my grandmother's sacrifice and my city's resilience. Everything I do is to make sure that ladder stays down for the next kid with a dream." But in the shadows of success, resentment was forming. As Boog's star rose, so did the number of people who felt entitled to his spotlight, his money, and his connections. The higher he climbed, the more visible a target he became for those who couldn't stand to see him win. Success in the music industry rarely comes without conflict. For Boog, the first signs of trouble appeared at the BET Hip Hop Awards in October 2022. Backstage footage captured by an attendee's phone showed Boog and Demetrius Hollow Point Jackson in a heated exchange, separated only by security personnel. "That confrontation had been building for months," explained music journalist Anthony Pearson. "Hollow Point felt Boog had stolen his sound, his style, even his producers. The reality was simpler. Boog was selling more records." The feud escalated when Hollow Point released Fake Diamond, a track directly attacking Boog's authenticity. The lyrics questioned his street credentials and implied his success came from industry connections rather than talent. Boog's response came 3 weeks later with Point Blank, a surgical dismantling of his rival's career and personal life. "Those diss tracks generated millions of streams," noted Pearson. "What started as professional jealousy became a profitable beef for both artists, but the line between performance and reality blurred quickly." At a Miami nightclub in December 2022, members of both entourages clashed, resulting in 2 hospitalizations and thousands in property damage. Neither artist was present, but the incident heightened tensions between their camps. Complicating matters further was Boog's relationship with Zara Mitchell, a model and influencer with over 3 million Instagram followers. Their romance became public when paparazzi photographed them vacationing in Turks and Caicos in January 2023. Zara wasn't just any girlfriend, explained Vanessa Rodriguez, who worked at Platinum Sound Studios. She had history with powerful people in Atlanta, including Elijah Reynolds. Reynolds, known as King, controlled much of Atlanta's drug trade from behind legitimate businesses. His relationship with Zara had ended 6 months before she began dating Boog, but sources close to Reynolds claimed he still considered her his property. Elijah never publicly threatened Boog, said Detective Malik Johnson. He didn't need to. Everyone in Atlanta knew his reputation and the consequences of crossing him. Text messages recovered from Boog's phone revealed his awareness of the danger. In February 2023, he wrote to Marcus, "King's people watching me. Might need to cool things with Z for a minute." Yet the relationship continued, with Zara accompanying Boog to industry events and appearing in his social media posts. According to friends, Boog refused to be intimidated. He told me, "I'm not letting anyone dictate who I can love," recalled childhood friend Darnell Thompson. That's who Ty was, defiant to the end. By March 2023, Boog had received multiple anonymous threats. He hired additional security but often dismissed them when recording, a decision that would prove fatal. Hit like if you've witnessed how jealousy can transform into something deadly. The story of Boog Washington shows how success creates enemies, and how refusing to bow to intimidation can come at the ultimate price. March 16, 2023 began as a productive day for Boog Washington. Security camera footage from Platinum Sound Studios showed him arriving at 7:42 p.m., greeting the receptionist with his trademark smile. He carried a notebook filled with lyrics and a bottle of Hennessy, his ritual offering to the creative process. He was in a great mood that night, recalled sound engineer Vanessa Rodriguez. He kept saying this session would change everything. The studio had been booked for a 12-hour block to finish 3 tracks for his sophomore album. Present that evening were his producer Marcus Kelly, audio engineer Rodriguez, backup vocalist Tiana Wilson, and childhood friend Darnell Thompson, who often served as his unofficial documentarian. The vibe was electric, Thompson later told police. Boog nailed his verses in 1 or 2 takes. He was locked in, focused like I'd never seen him. Studio footage captured the collaborative energy. Boog pacing as he perfected his flow, Marcus adjusting beats in real time, Tiana layering harmonies that transformed good tracks into potential hits. By midnight, they had completed 2 songs and were halfway through the 3rd. At 1:37 a.m., according to phone records, Boog received a call from an unknown number. Security cameras showed him checking his phone, his expression shifting instantly. He stepped out of the booth, motioning to Marcus that he needed a minute. He walked to the corner of the room, Marcus recalled. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but his body language changed completely. He went from relaxed to tense in seconds. The call lasted 4 minutes and 12 seconds. When it ended, Boog told the group he needed to step outside. Rodriguez was the last person to speak with him. He said he had to handle something and would be right back, she testified. I asked if everything was okay, and he said, "Just studio politics, nothing major." Those were his last words to any of us. Exterior cameras tracked Boog exiting the building at 1:43 a.m. He walked directly to his Mercedes G-Wagon in the parking lot, looking over his shoulder twice. He unlocked the vehicle remotely when he was approximately 15 feet away. As he opened the driver's door, a figure emerged from between 2 parked cars. The person wore dark clothing and a hood that obscured their face from cameras. Boog appeared to recognize the individual. He didn't show alarm, but instead seemed to prepare for conversation. What happened next occurred in less than 30 seconds. The hooded figure approached, words were exchanged, and then the person raised their right arm. 3 gunshots rang out in rapid succession. Boog collapsed into the driver's seat as the shooter fled to a waiting sedan. Inside the studio, the team initially mistook the sounds for car backfires. It was only when Boog failed to return after 20 minutes that Marcus went to check on him. "I found him slumped over the steering wheel," Marcus said, his voice breaking during his police interview. "There was so much blood. I screamed for help, tried to find a pulse, but I knew he was gone." Emergency services arrived at 2:12 a.m., but it was too late. Tyrell Boog Washington was pronounced dead at the scene, 3 bullets in his chest ending a life that had only begun to realize its potential. Who would orchestrate such a calculated execution, and why? The answer would shock even the most hardened detectives on the case. Detective Malik Johnson arrived at Platinum Sound Studios at 2:37 a.m., the parking lot now transformed into a crime scene. With 15 years in Atlanta's homicide division, Johnson approached high-profile cases with methodical precision. "First 48 hours are critical," Johnson explained in a later interview. "With a victim this prominent, we faced dual challenges, too many potential suspects, and intense public pressure for quick results." Johnson's team collected 17 shell casings, secured surveillance footage, and interviewed all witnesses present at the studio. The murder weapon, a Glock 19, had been left behind, wiped clean of prints. Ballistics confirmed it was unregistered, a ghost gun assembled from parts purchased online. The killer leaving the weapon suggested either panic or calculation, Johnson noted. Either they fled in a hurry, or they wanted us to find a gun that couldn't be traced. 4 primary suspects emerged within days. First, Demetrius Hollow Point Jackson, whose public feud with Boog provided clear motive. However, flight records and hotel security footage confirmed he was in Miami during the murder. Second, Vincent Torres, a producer who claimed Boog had stolen beats without proper compensation. Financial records showed Torres facing bankruptcy, potentially desperate for money or revenge. Third, several associates of Elijah King Reynolds, any of whom might have acted to eliminate the man dating Reynolds' former girlfriend. Fourth, a group of dealers from Columbus who had attempted to extort Boog, claiming they funded his early career and deserved payback. The investigation stalled for weeks. The burner phone that called Boog before his death led nowhere. Purchased with cash at a convenience store by someone wearing a COVID mask. The getaway car had stolen plates and was found burned in an abandoned lot. "We interviewed over 60 people," said Detective Alicia Ramirez, Johnson's partner. "Everyone had theories, but solid evidence remained elusive." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. On April 12th, an anonymous tip directed police to Kendrick Willis, a 23-year-old aspiring rapper who had repeatedly messaged Boog on social media seeking mentorship. Willis's cousin worked security at Platinum Sound Studios and had access to Boog's recording schedule. Cell tower data placed Willis's phone near the studio the night of the murder. A search warrant for his apartment yielded ammunition matching the type used in the shooting. When confronted with the evidence, Willis cracked quickly, Johnson said. He admitted to being the getaway driver, but claimed another man, Terrence Miller, pulled the trigger. Known as T-Lock, Miller had connections to King Reynolds through Atlanta's drug trade. According to Willis, Reynolds had offered $50,000 for Boog's murder, not primarily because of Zara Mitchell, as initially suspected, but because Boog had refused to sign a distribution deal with a record label Reynolds secretly controlled. "It was business disguised as personal," explained Johnson. Reynolds wanted to own a piece of Boog's success. When Boog refused, Reynolds decided no one would profit from his talent. Police arrested Miller at his grandmother's house in College Park. The evidence against him mounted. Cell records placed him at the scene. A witness identified him entering the getaway car, and eventually his DNA was found on the murder weapons magazine. As we reveal who pulled the trigger, could this tragedy have been prevented? If Boog had recognized the danger signs, if he'd kept his security detail close that night, would Atlanta's rising star still be alive today? Terrence T. Lock Miller's arrest revealed layers of motivation that extended far beyond a simple hit job. During interrogation, Miller initially maintained his innocence, but faced with overwhelming evidence, he eventually offered a full confession that exposed the complex web surrounding Boog's murder. "It wasn't just about the girl," Miller told detectives in a recorded statement. "That's what Reynolds wanted people to think. The real issue was control." According to court documents, Elijah King Reynolds operated a sophisticated money laundering operation through several Atlanta record labels. These labels signed artists at predatory rates, then used their careers to clean drug money. When Atlantic Records approached Boog, Reynolds had attempted to insert himself as a consultant, entitled to 30% of all earnings. Boog refused the arrangement, explained prosecutor Camila Hernandez. He recognized the trap and walked away. In Reynolds' world, such defiance couldn't go unpunished. The mysterious phone call Boog received at the studio that night came from Reynolds himself, a final opportunity to reconsider the partnership. When Boog again declined, Reynolds gave Miller the green light to proceed with the murder. "The relationship with Zara was just convenient cover," Detective Johnson testified. "Reynolds created a narrative about romantic jealousy to hide the financial motive. It was calculated to direct suspicion away from his business interests." Miller's testimony implicated Reynolds in multiple music industry crimes, from extortion to assault. In exchange for his cooperation, prosecutors offered Miller a reduced sentence of 25 years instead of life without parole. The trial revealed how Reynolds had created an invisible power structure within Atlanta's music scene. Artists who played by his rules received promotion, radio play, and protection. Those who refused faced consequences ranging from blacklisting to violence. "Many successful artists paid Reynolds without the public ever knowing," said music journalist Anthony Pearson. Boog represented a dangerous precedent, someone who could succeed without Reynolds' blessing. In a dramatic courtroom moment, prosecutors played the full recording of Boog's final phone conversation, recovered from Reynolds' seized devices. In it, Boog can be heard saying, "I don't care who you know or what you control. My music belongs to me and my people, not you." Reynolds was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. Miller received 25 years for second-degree murder. Willis, the getaway driver, accepted 15 years for his role and testimony. Share this video as a warning about the invisible boundaries that exist in every industry. Success comes with rules unwritten in any contract, powerful figures who expect deference, systems designed to maintain control, and consequences for those who challenge the established order. Boog Washington paid the ultimate price for his independence. In death, Tyrell Boog Washington achieved a level of influence that even his meteoric rise hadn't prepared the world for. His unfinished album, completed by Marcus Kelly and released under the title Legacy Written in Blood, debuted at #1 on Billboard and has since been certified triple platinum. Music critics noted how the album's themes of independence, authenticity, and resistance against industry control now carried prophetic weight. The track, My Own Man, recorded just days before his murder, became an anthem for artists fighting exploitative contracts. Boog's death forced a conversation the industry had been avoiding for decades, explained music executive Regina Torres. Artists began questioning who really profited from their work and what hidden forces shaped their careers. Loretta Washington channeled her grief into action, establishing the Tyrell Washington Foundation with the mission of providing legal and business education to emerging artists. The Foundation's Know Your Worth program offers free contract review services and has already helped over 200 young musicians navigate predatory agreements. "My grandson died because he understood his value," Loretta stated at the Foundation's launch. "We're making sure no other artist faces that choice alone." The murder also transformed security practices throughout the music industry. Major labels now provide comprehensive threat assessment and protection services for artists, particularly those from backgrounds similar to Boog's. Studios have implemented enhanced security protocols, including secure parking areas and vetted guest lists. Perhaps most significantly, the FBI launched a specialized task force investigating organized crime connections to the entertainment industry, resulting in multiple indictments across several major cities. Boog's Childhood Community Center in East Columbus, renamed the Tyrell Washington Arts Center, now houses state-of-the-art recording facilities where young artists can create without cost or obligation, a living embodiment of his vision for artistic freedom. Comment below. Which other artists' deaths have exposed similar industry dangers? Has the music business truly changed, or do the same power dynamics still threaten independent voices today?